Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we are diving into Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. This video is also available for you to check out in Hindi, so you can do that as well. Today we are going to go stanza by stanza, uncover what Keats is really saying, explore the poem's major themes, look at Keats' own tragic life and place this poem inside the romantic movement. Now let us get into it. Stanza 1. The ache of envy, not envy. Keats opens in physical distress. His heart aches, his senses feel numb, as if he drunk poison or a sedative. But he is quick to clarify this isn't jealousy of the nightingale, it's the opposite. He's overwhelmed by how happy the bird sounds, pouring out its full throated ease in the summer trees. The bird represents a kind of unthinking joy Keats himself cannot access. This stanza sets up the poem's central tension, a suffering human mind versus a carefree singing bird. Stanza 2. The wish for wine. Keats wishes for a drink of wine, not for drunkenness, but an escape hatch. He imagines wine aged in the cool earth, tasting of French sunshine, dancing and song. He wants to drink deeply and leave the world unseen, disappearing into the forest with the bird. This is Keats using wine as a symbol for a shortcut out of consciousness, a way to dissolve his awareness of pain. Stanza 3. Naming the real pain. Here Keats drops the metaphor and says plainly what he wants to escape: human weariness, fever, and worry. He describes a world where old age causes people to shake, where youth turns pale and dies, spectre thin. A devastating and personal line, since Keats had watched his brother Tom die of tuberculosis and was likely already infected himself. He notes that even beauty and love cannot last. This is the poem's most direct confrontation with mortality and disease. Stanza 4. Flying without wine. Keats changes his mind about the wine. He decides he doesn't need Bacchus, the god of wine, to escape. He'll fly to the nightingale on the viewless wings of poesy, meaning the power of poetic imagination itself. Suddenly, he declares he is already with thee, transported purely by his own creative mind into the moonlit forest where the bird sings. Stanza 5. The darkness of the senses. Now fully immersed in imagination, Keats says he cannot actually see the flowers around him. It's too dark. Instead, he must guess at them through smell alone: hawthorn, eglantine, violets, and musk roses. This stanza is famous for its dense sensory language. It shows imagination substituting for sight, proving that Keats has genuinely lost himself in this dreamlike escape. Stanza 6. The temptation of death. This is the emotional core of the poem. Keats confesses that he has often been half in love with easeful death, soothing himself with thoughts of dying painlessly while listening to beauty. He feels that right now, listening to the nightingale would be the perfect, richest moment to die, to seize upon the midnight with no pain. But then he realizes something devastating. If he died, he would become a sod, a piece of earth, no longer able to hear the bird song at all. Death would end his ability to experience the very beauty tempting him towards it. Stanza 7. The Immortal Bird. Keats has a revelation. The nightingale, or at least its song, feels immortal. Generations of humans have died, emperors and peasants alike, but the same kind of bird song has echoed through history. He imagines the same song being heard by Ruth, a biblical figure who wept from homesickness, and by magical figures in fairy tales looking out over dangerous seas. The bird song transcends individual death because it represents nature's eternal, repeating beauty. Every nightingale's song connects to every nightingale before it. Stanza 8. The Return to Reality. The word forlorn means lonely and abandoned. Snaps Keats out of his trance like a tolling bell. He admits that imagination or the fancy cannot actually cheat death or escape reality, as well as people say it can. The bird's song fades away as it flies over meadows and up a hillside until it disappears completely. Keats is left wondering, in the poem's final famous question, was that whole experience a vision or a waking dream? Am I awake or asleep? The poem ends not with an answer but with uncertainty. Keats can't even trust his own perception anymore. Now let us discuss some of the major themes of this poem. First, mortality and the fear of death. The poem is soaked in Keats's awareness of death, his brother's death, his own encroaching illness, and death as the universal human condition. Yet, Keats does not simply fear death, he is drawn to it as a release from suffering, which makes the poem psychologically complex. Second, the escape of imagination versus its limits. Keats tries multiple routes to escape. alcohol, poetic imagination to leave behind human suffering. For a few stanzas, imagination genuinely works. He feels transported into the Nightingale's world. But by the end, he admits imagination is a cheat, a temporary illusion that cannot permanently solve the problems of mortality. Third, art and nature as eternal, human life as fleeting. The Nightingale song is framed as timeless, heard by ancient emperors, biblical figures, and Keats himself, unchanged across centuries. This contrasts sharply with individual human lives, which are short and fragile. Keats suggests that art and natural beauty can achieve a kind of immortality that individual people cannot. 4. Isolation and the single human consciousness. Despite the shared, communal nature of the bird's song throughout history, Keats himself is utterly alone, sitting by himself, unable to fully join the bird's world, eventually told back to his soul self. The poem captures the loneliness of human self awareness. Theme 5. The senses and negative capability. Keats immerses himself in scent and sound rather than sight, showing his belief in sinking fully into sensation and uncertainty rather than reasoning his way to clarity, an idea connected to what Keats elsewhere called negative capability, the ability to remain in doubt and mystery without needing rational certainty. Now let us also discuss Keats' background. John Keats was born in London in 1795, the son of a stable keeper. His childhood was marked by loss. His father died in an accident when Keats was 8, and his mother died of tuberculosis when he was 14. The same disease that would later kill his younger brother Tom in 1818, and eventually Keats himself. Keats trained as a surgeon apothecary, a demanding medical profession, before abandoning medicine to devote himself entirely to poetry, a financially risky decision that worried his friends. He had no family wealth or aristocratic connections, unlike many poets of his era, and critics from established magazines mocked him, dismissively labeling him part of the Cockney school of poetry because of his middle class London background. Ode to a Nightingale was written in the spring of 1819 in the garden of his homestead, London, reportedly composed in a single morning after Keats heard a nightingale singing in a nearby tree. This was an extraordinary productive period for Keats, sometimes called his Great Year, during which he wrote nearly all his most famous odes in just a few months. At the time, Keats was caring for his brother Tom, who had just died of tuberculosis, and Keats himself was beginning to show symptoms of the same disease. He was also deeply in love with Fanny Brawne, a woman he could not yet afford to marry. Within 2 years of writing this poem, in February 1821, Keats died in Rome at just 25 years old. Keats does not pretend that beauty cures pain or that imagination defeats death. Instead, he shows us both the temporary luminous art and nature can offer and the inevitable tolling return to a mortal aching self. That honesty, written by a 23-year-old already facing his own death, is why this poem still moves readers over 200 years later. If you found this breakdown helpful, like and subscribe to the channel. Again, this video is also available for you to check out in Hindi, so you can do that as well. Thank you, and we will see you again in the next one.